Good afternoon everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. Each month, go through this bit of a spiel at this time of the month. Each month we shop every 6 weeks, and once I've done the 6-week grocery haul, I generally do videos for about a week or two afterwards showing how we preserve, use, freeze, cook and all that sort of thing with the food that we get, because it's one of the biggest things that people asked when I started doing the 6 weekly grocery hauls was, how do you make it all last? How do you get through the 6 weeks with only shopping once every 6 weeks and things like that, especially considering we're off-grid and we have limited storage facilities for all of that type stuff too. I have had a bit of a, last month I was a bit slack with it, was out every couple of days, and the few months before that I was doing them daily. It's all been a little haphazard lately, so I had best of intentions to get these videos all done and out at a decent amount of time, and I think it's been 3 days since I got one out again. So my biggest problem at the moment is that it's winter, so the days are shorter, so it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and already we have the sun going down, so I have less hours in a day to get anything done. So I find that I don't get the voiceovers done, so I get all the filming done during the day, and of an evening I can sit there and I can collate all the footage into each day's videos, but by the time it comes to actually voiceovering, I can't do it at night because I can't do it in the house, not with 8 people in a very small house, and I can't do it out in the kitchen at night time either because it's like 0 degrees, but also we have the generator running a fair bit because it's winter. So I get to the end of the day and like 4 o'clock today, I've got dinner is already sorted today, so I've come out here to do a couple of videos now. I've got enough notes here to get 2 videos done, and then I can put them all together tonight. So at the moment I'm just really running short on time to do the voiceovers, so I'm still filming every day, I still have plenty to share, I just can't get the voiceovers done. But anyway, I'm going to stand here and do 2 of them that I managed to print out my notes for today, and 2 days running, and I will get them out to you, and then we will keep on going as we get there because that's just a bit of the season of current way things are going with winter and the kids and everything else. So here we go. Here is today's video, which is for the 21st, 22nd and 23rd, I think. So hope you enjoy. Alrighty, so I mentioned in the last video that I accidentally deleted some of the footage from the 21st. So I only have one SD card and that I take the day's footage off onto my computer and then I put it back in the camera. I really need to get myself a second one. I just haven't got around to it. I did have 2 and 1 died, and anyway. But it means that I accidentally deleted the 21st before I'd put it on my computer. I'd missed it somehow because I had new footage to put on there. So I've lost a whole bunch of the footage from the 21st. I dimpled and baked the focaccia in the early morning, with difficulty mind you, because the olive oil was solid, and we had it with some of the pastrami meat and tomato for lunch. So this was the focaccia that you saw me putting together the previous video. This is when it was baked the next day. I'd also made zucchini butter that day and processed the first half of the avocados, but unfortunately that's the footage that I deleted before uploading to my computer, so you missed that one. Sorry about that. I did get the end of the day though, so I must have just started deleting the first half of the day before I had enough room. I don't know what I did, to be honest, but I lost some footage. So, but we do have the rolling out of the sourdough pasta. So I had made that pasta in one of the previous videos. It had fermented on the bench for a few hours and then goes in the fridge, and then I roll it out within a day or 2. We rolled it out for dinner, so I used the KitchenAid pasta attachment. It's a generic branded one, actually, not a KitchenAid brand one. It was from Amazon, and I push it through from the thickest to the thinnest and then hand cut it with my pastry wheel and I hang it. The pasta drying rack that I have is pretty broken now. It doesn't have the lug in the bottom anymore, so it lists to one side really badly. And it's also wood, and wood is just not that great for an outdoor kitchen in our environment. So I actually ordered one from Temu to try out, and Thermomix actually has one as well. So I was going to order their one as well and give it a go and see what I like best, but they're both made out of plastic. I would like something in stainless steel because that's the easiest thing to keep clean and the most sturdy, but I'm okay with living with plastic for the moment, if that's what works. So I just rolled out and cut as much pasta as fit on the rack. It's generally about half of a triple batch, so I do 3 lots of 400 gram flour batches, and half of that will generally fit on my rack and give us 3 meals out of that, because generally speaking Darryl and I eat the sourdough pasta and the kids have the dried pasta. They like the sourdough pasta, but they like the dried pasta just as much, and it's a whole lot easier for the quantity that they're eating than doing the sourdough pasta for them as well. We had our standard pesto pasta for dinner. The egg yolks, pesto, olive oil, lemon juice, cowboy candy brine and some salt all mixed together. Then you cook the pasta off and use the heat of the pasta and the pasta water to cook the eggs in the sauce until it becomes a luscious creamy pasta sauce. There is a short with all the exact measurements on my channel somewhere. I'll try and remember to put that in here, but you know how bad I am with putting cards in. The kids had the same, but I cooked theirs first, so I cooked theirs and got them fed, and then I was filming ours. And I did theirs with dry spaghetti and sun-dried tomato pesto for this one, I think was what they had. I also used up some of the baby spinach, so I wilted it in the pasta water before adding it all with the pasta, and some of the marinated grilled chicken breasts in the dish as well. Apollo's birthday was the next day, and he decided he'd like hamburgers for dinner, but didn't tell me until late. So I was out in the kitchen in the chilly weather making up some of my light brioche dough for his hamburgers for the next day. I posted it on Instagram, so I just put that little photo in here that could have reminded me a little bit earlier. It would have been nice, but anyway. The next morning I divided and shaped the dough for its second rise. So I do a double batch, it's really just a standard batch for us, but it's a double batch of most of the measurements that are out there for the dough. It's 16 rolls worth, which is 2 rolls for each person. Sometimes they have 2 at dinner, sometimes they have 1 at breakfast. It's really up to them how they want to eat it, just so long as it's not wasted. They are only given 1 at a time, and if they eat that whole hamburger and they still want something, then that's their choice. But yeah, we don't want the buns wasted, but they have the option of 2. I put 8 to a tray to give them lots of room to spread width-wise as well as height, because we want them to be hamburger buns, so we want them kind of wide and flat, not high like dinner rolls. Apollo wanted to learn how to shape as well, so I was giving him some tips and showing him how it worked also. He was getting a little bit frustrated though, as we all know that shaping dough is a skill set that you have to practice, and none of my kids are keen enough in the kitchen to put the hours in to practice these things yet, but I'm more than happy to encourage them to try. Once the buns had proofed, were nice and puffy, sort of double the size, I put an egg yolk glaze over them, just an egg yolk with a bit of water mixed up, sprinkled them with some everything but the bagel seasoning mix. Sometimes I just use sesame seeds, sometimes nothing. I just happened to grab the jar of everything bagel that particular day, and I really like it, so that works well. After that, we made Apollo's cake. Now, I did a really super simple and not very healthy cake. I wasn't in the mood for just fiddling with the recipe to try and get it right. So I just used Nuttall to make my life easier, because I'd bought some on sale at Costco this month. Very standard chocolate cake, split it between 2 tins so that you could have the whole, birthday cake effect with the icing in the middle and everything too, and cooked it in the barbecue. I did have an issue mid-cook. The gas on the barbecue ran out, so we had to replace it with which meant like a big dip in temperature mid-bake. The cakes dried out quite a bit because of that, and the extra cook time to compensate because of that drop in temperature. And yeah, they were a little overcooked at the edges, a little undercooked at the middle. They sunk a little bit, but the kids don't care. After that, I had to work on the rest of the chicken thighs in the fridge as they were coming up to date. So I diced them all up and marinated them. I marinated a bunch with the butter chicken marinade so I could put them in the butter chicken sort of sauce that I can. I've got a video that I'll put together to show you canning the butter chicken, because I got asked a lot last time. Darryl helped me cook them off and get them in the fridge for canning the next day. Now, normally I would do my butter chicken, I just pack the chicken raw or slightly cooked in the sauce in the jars, but because this chicken was close to date and our fridges, we're having problems with both fridges at the moment, so they're not running as cold as I would like, so I decided that because it was close to date, we'd cook it off and stick it in the fridge, and then that way if I didn't get to it the next day, then it should be fine for the day after, sort of thing. And so we just cooked that off and put it in the fridge. I marinated a couple of trays, so I think I had 4 trays. So I marinated one in the butter chicken, which was like 2.2 kilos or 5 pounds of chicken. And then 2 trays I did in my standard sort of marinade, which is, my smoked paprika with the cowboy candy, garlic, onion, salt, pepper, lemon juice, mushroom salt, all that sort of thing, and cooked off to be used and vacuum sealed and frozen. So I like to have marinated chicken thighs in the freezer vacuum sealed up all the time. I don't like to store it, much of it frozen. I much prefer to store it cooked, and then we just vacuum seal it up into 300-600 gram bags, and then that way we can pull it out for meals as required, depending on the meal as to how much I pull out and that sort of thing. One of the bags I did in a garlic soy marinade for the deep fried chicken that I make regularly. So each tray, as I said, is about 2.2 kilos or sort of 5 pounds-ish. So I split one whole tray into 3, one for dinner tomorrow night and 2 bags vacuumed up for other nights this month. I did seal that raw because if you're deep frying chicken, then you need it raw to be doing it. Like, unless you wanted to bread it first and then par fry it, and then, but I wasn't going to anywhere near that much effort. So I just froze 2 portions of it raw and left one in the fridge for dinner for the next night. After that, I needed to do the beef for the hamburgers for dinner. So I pulled out a bag of the beef trim from Costco and started dicing and grinding the 2-ish kilos that we use for dinner for a hamburger night. Generally that has a bit of leftovers. Once it was ground up, I mixed through some salt and onion powder and got it really well emulsified so it's texture but it also sticks together. I use my Luvele meat grinder here. I mention it all the time. I do have an affiliate code. I'll try and remember to put it in the description, but we really like it. It works really well. It doesn't overheat. It runs really smoothly. Obviously, if the meat's colder, it works better than if the meat's not as cold, but it works great. It doesn't draw a whole lot of power. I put one of those power meters on it and it didn't draw, I think it was like 380, 400 watts is all it was drawing, which is really low for a high-powered grinder. So highly recommend this particular grinder. Now, as I said, I emulsified the beef mince a little bit because we want it to stick together, but you don't want to work it too much or it'll be tough. You do want the texture of the coarse grind, but you do have to work it a little bit to make sure it stays together in sort of hamburger patty type style things. I use my tortilla press with some baking paper to press the hamburgers out. I just really like how it works. It flattens them out like a hamburger press, and I don't have a hamburger press. I have considered buying one of the cast iron ones so I could put the ball on the pan and just flatten it with the cast iron press. That'll probably be something that I'll buy at some point because it'll just skip the having to press them first, but this works in that same manner, and I find that it keeps the texture of the patties still has that meaty texture, and it shrinks up, so it spreads out a whole lot and shrinks up to the right size for our hamburger buns. I just really enjoy the way it works. I cook them in a nice hot cast iron pan for caramelization, and then we serve them on the buns. I got some lettuce from the garden, the hydroponic cracky bed that we've got going. We use some duck egg mayo, we use caramelized onion jam. I added cheese to my patties while they were cooking to melt while they were being heated through. I always do smaller weight patties for Darryl and I so we can double decker burgers if we want. So the standard weight that I do is about 90 grams per burger patty, and I drop ours a bit so that we can have 2 patties on the burger, just to make it feel all that more decadent. I made a very simple buttercream with raw sugar. I ground in the Thermomix Nuttelex, coconut cream and some blue gel dye as per Apollo's request, and let them go to town. I don't do icing often. I just think it's unnecessary most of the time. You know, cakes are sweet enough, you don't really need the icing. But for birthdays, I tend to go with the requests. Because I only had raw sugar and I ground it in the Thermomix and it wasn't significantly powdered, which you can get it really finely powdered if you spend the time, but I am not real patient. So the icing was a little gritty, but they don't care, and they just wanted the sugar high from all the pretty blue icing anyway, and I just let them go on it because it was a birthday cake. So I've got footage here for you to see. I'll just put a bit of extended footage here for you to see of them decorating the cake and working together. Sonnet and Apollo were doing it, and I think mostly they were doing it so that they could, you know, lick the little bits that ended up all over the place. So that was the 21st and the 22nd, but missing that bunch of footage from the 21st, which is really sad because I wanted to show making zucchini butter, and I don't have any more zucchinis. I have shown it before, but it was something that had been requested. I'd mentioned it somewhere and someone had requested it again, and so I filmed the whole process of doing it and everything, and then lost the footage, and I don't have any more zucchini to do it, and it's really the wrong season for zucchini, so I was very lucky to get the cheap zucchini that I got, not likely to get it again. And besides that, I've now got it frozen in the freezer to use. I don't really need another batch right now. So zucchini butter can't be canned, it's just you cannot get it to a point where it can be canned, so it is a freezer one, but I just use the small, we get a lot of those little tiny snack Ziploc bags in the hamper all the time, so I just use some of those and put like a cup's worth in each. We really like it added to our pasta sauces. It's really nice as a pizza base, like with tomato sauce, and then the zucchini butter is really nice, or just on its own. But it's nice in a lot of things. It's just a herby vegetable sauce. It's pretty good, so definitely worth making, but I didn't have the footage for it, so I'll have to do that again in summer. Hopefully my garden does really well this year and I need to make lots of it because I have so many zucchinis that, you know, I don't know what to do with it. That would be really nice. So anyway, thanks for joining me again today, guys, and I will see you on the next one, which will look very much like this because I'm going to do it right now. So have fun, guys, and I'll see you next time.